The day started out like most of my train watching days, on top of the parking deck in Dalton to check the signals, but by the time I got out of the car, NS 994 was right on top of me. Nine 994 is an almost daily power balance move from Atlanta's Inman Yard to DeButt's Yard in Chattanooga. Today, with an ex-Southern SD40-2 leading a C44-9W, an ES44DC, two more -9s, a freshly rebuilt SD70ACU, a CSX ES44AH, and another C44-9W. With no tonnage behind him and plenty of power with just the lead motor, 994 would make great time to Chattanooga today, and with no other trains on the radar, that's where I was headed next. By the time I got to DeButt's, 994 was already there waiting to back into the fuel racks. I moved over to Scruggs Street to find a giant SD80 Mack being serviced. These don't make it south very often, but they have been showing up more since NS acquired the remaining Macks from CSX. Scruggs Street is a good spot to view motive power parked in the storage yard, but don't dare be over there at night. This morning found PR43C133 awaiting its final fate along with several yard slugs and MP15s. The ex-Southern switchers have since been sold off, but the slugs remain. Dash 840CW 8462 has also been here for over a year since it and two other units were involved in a wreck near Wauhatchie. I walked up the bridge just in time to catch CSX Q142, Jacksonville to Baltimore intermodal traffic as it slowed down for a crew change. As of this year, 142 can be seen with Tropicana reefers, and today is no exception. And as it turned out, this would not be my last shot of 142 today. Lots of action going on as usual in the yard. Even with the closing of the hump yard, DeButt still has plenty of trains to switch. Today, there was even a very unusual visitor in the yard, R.J. Corman Railpower Green Goat 5400, presumably in town for work of some sort. It had started to rain, so I moved up the road a bit to Wauhatchie and the very mouth of the Chatt Sub and the AGS. No action here, but an old site forced a quick stop. For years, a small junkyard next to the AGS has been home to this, a Central Railroad of New Jersey truck train trailer. Although well worn and coated in rust, Lady Liberty still shows through, and is an object that many make an effort to photograph beside NS 1071 when it rolls through these parts. The rain had started to come down again, hard, and with nothing coming I pushed on to Cowan, Tennessee, arriving in a complete summer downpour, but it was nice to be back in Cowan again. A loaded Georgia Power coal train was stopped in the yard, so I drove up the access road to be greeted by a pair of Kansas City Southern Belles ES44s between a CSX AC4400CW and an SD70 Mack. With the helpers cut on, the coal train heads up the mountain. One of the hallmarks of rail fanning in Cowan is the use of manned helper units on almost all trains. For a very short period this summer, CSX did away with the helpers, but soon returned them to service. Today, the helpers are an unusual 3-unit consist of 2 ES44AHs and an SD40-3. The helpers cut off on the fly at the tunnel portal and roll back into the yard to wait for another train. "45 minutes pass and we get another surprise, a fast-moving intermodal with a pair of Citi Rail ES44s in charge. No helpers needed for this short hotshot. He heads up the Cumberland Plateau without breaking stride. After the city units passed, the rain resumed once again, so I took cover in the car. Another hour passes before anything else is heard moving when another surprise creeped into town. It was Q142 that I had shot just hours before at Debutts, now crawling down the hill in full dynamics. Before the engines had hardly entered the yard, everything stopped, and things got very interesting. The road foreman met the conductor and drove him to the back of the Tropicana cars, cut them off, and pulled them into the yard, leaving the rest of the train on the single-track mainline on the grade. They pulled the train into the yard, cut the juice cars off, pushed the stack cars into another track, picked up the juice cars, backed them onto the top of the stack cars, then, almost 2 hours later, backed the whole thing back onto the rest of the train that was still waiting on the mountain. After being coupled back together, the engines blocked the only crossing in town, causing a huge backup. When one motorist asked the crew the reason for the delay, the conductor simply replied with, "Thank our new CEO." At last, 142 gets a clear signal and heads north. He would make it to Nashville with almost none of his 12 hours left. It was getting late and would be a long drive back home, but all in all had been a very fun day out on the Chatt Sub. In downtown Cowan, Tennessee, this is Ravenhawk 6910 signing off.